So I want to switch gears a tiny bit and talk about the tension I think people feel when they're thinking about how their blackness and Christianity comes together. So for some people, you know, a lot of Christians, I would say, they argue that Christian is their primary identity, that they're a Christian. You know, they see themselves created in Christ's image. You know, it's no longer I that live, it's Christ that lives within me. It's a popular scripture that people like to quote. But others obviously would insist that that's whitewashing. Like for your Christianity to supersede your race, which is the primary way you're seen in the world, like especially in the West, there's a problem there. Again, I'm coming back to you, Sar, because you did research into this. I'm just thinking, when you were doing your research, is this again something that you had a problem with? The idea that being a Christian means you have to kind of put Christ and your Christian image first?
No, most definitely. Because as a Pan-Africanist, I view like I take I put my people first in it to put to shorten it. Basically, I put my people first, and I've seen the effects of Christianity with my people, and it's not, we don't have the best relationship in terms of Christianity and let's say West Africans.
So what kind of things have you seen?
So even recently, I remember seeing a clip of Aisho Speed. I've seen many people go to this place, but Aisho Speed, he was in Ghana, and you know, he visited the slave dungeon, and basically it's a church on top of a slave dungeon. And to me, that is crazy. Like, how can you be preaching and have slaves? They called it the door of no return. Like, when you go through that door, you're not returning. I just don't see how a spiritual system that's meant to benefit us has been so detrimental to us in many ways. People would argue that there's been a lot of beneficial factors to Christianity for us adopting Christianity into our, but I haven't seen much of it. I've just seen a lot of destruction from Christianity. Yes, there are some figures that have liberated black people and stuff that were Christian, but I literally don't see how Christianity has benefited black people. So I definitely feel like putting your race as your identity first over your spirituality, over your religion, is definitely what you should be doing, basically.
I mean, you're a Christian.
Yes.
Sar says he doesn't see how being a Christian has benefited black people.
Well, I can't speak for the whole black race, but I'll speak from my experience. I think coming to Christianity, because I wasn't always following this way. I think it was when I was 22 that I decided that I'm going to follow Christian for myself, even though I'm from a West African heritage, and my parents were Christian. And so it always felt weird, you know, in the household, because we have a lot of our own traditions, and then my parents were also Christians, and sometimes the traditions would overstep what I believed Christ would be like, or what they portrayed Christ to be like. And I think, well, that's not a bit Christ-like. But coming to Christ, I realized everyone's in their process, and everyone is kind of imperfect. And this is why my number one theology is keeping the accurate image of Christ, because the church, that, as you mentioned, that was horrific. That is not something anyone should be proud of. But I even think Christ himself is not proud of, because humanity has used religion or used the name of Christ to enslave people. That's not Jesus's message. Jesus's message was one, even in his days, people used to think it was a political thing. But he said, I've actually come for the essence of humanity to be redeemed. Some call that sin, the original sin of disobeying God, etc. And so he come to redeem man. But I like to think it's just more that reconciliation. We're separated from God, and Christ is that doorway to reconciliation with our Father. And so does it diminish our blackness? No. The reason why I love mosaic glasses is because there's one light, but it's shone through a different, color. And I believe blackness adds a unique flair to Christianity that, respectfully saying, if Christianity was only a white man's religion, I would be pretty bored.
Mm. Some of the liveliest churches
Yeah.
are black churches. Let's just put it that way. Sarah,
But that's not necessarily because of Christianity, is it?
I don't know. This is
Because of
just
black people. Black people are lively people.
That is who we are.
Um,
Definitely.
Yeah. I would say that if you put a religion before your lineage, your genetics, it makes no sense to me. I've seen people's religion change. I've seen Muslims become Christian. I've seen Christians become Muslims. I've seen Muslims become Hebrew Israelites. During that whole time, not once did their genetics change. Not once. But I saw their religions change. And so for me, if anyone seeks to put their religion over a constant, because that is what it is. We have a constant within our genetics, within our DNA, which is who we are. A religion doesn't have to be a constant. And it's never, ever been a constant. No one was born with a Bible, Quran, or Torah strapped to their umbilical cord. No one was born with that. But we were all born with our genetics. It was strapped, it was literally in our cells, in our DNA. So, you
But
cannot, if you put, sorry, go on.
No. I was just trying to process what you're saying, because I think there's blackness and there's humanity, okay? And, we cut ourselves, we'll all bleed. And so I think why I use the term, like the imagery of a mosaic, is because blackness is a flair, it's a culture, it's a tribe, but it's not who we are. Like, we are more than that. We're not just our color, because that goes back to the slavery talks, because they believed that we were less than humans, but when we all bled red. And so I'm just trying to grapple with what you're saying.
But black peoples existed before any book from the Abraham religions existed. So before a Bible, a Torah, or a Quran, black people existed. Like I was saying earlier on, black people are the first people of the human family.
Mm-hmm.
So are we now saying that we were waiting on Arabs and Europeans to turn up to show us what was going on, like, and how in which we should interact with this thing called God? Doesn't make any sense. We already knew what this essence thing, God, divinity, whatever it is you want to call it, is, right? And this is the way these people over here were doing it, and they've somehow managed, from what I can see, they've somehow managed to bamboozle us, the original mothers and fathers of humanity, to follow the way in which they follow it. Whereas we already had our ways in which we follow it, and the ways in which we follow it is multiple ways in which we follow it. But it's only one way now, just a Christian way, or just a Hebrew way, or just a Muslim way. It's just like, we've never been that type of people.
Mm-hmm.
We've never been that type of people.
I just wanted to piggyback off that. I've had this conversation with many people, and it's actually scary when I have this conversation with people, because I would ask them, without colonization and slavery, would we have these religions? They would say no. And I say, so it's a good thing that we went through colonization and slavery because we gained Christianity or Islam from it. They said yes. And like, see, that type of mindset, what that does to a black person, cognitive dissonance. It's like, from when you're inside the religion, you don't really see it, but when you come outside the religion and you really look at it, it's actually scary.
Yeah.
Like, when you're talking to a black person and they're telling you, like, they're looking in your eyes and saying slavery and colonization was a good thing.
Why don't you ask that question to Isaac?
No, definitely is slavery and colonization a good thing? Because we gained Christianity and gained Christianity from it.
To give you a direct answer, the act of slavery is wrong. I feel like it's not a black and white answer.
The Bible condones it, though.
No, the Bible doesn't condone. When it
doesn't condone it, actually.
When the Bible talks about slavery, it's like, you go to certain cultures, right? And obviously they would have people who work for them. So it's not slavery and oppression, but I feel like I won't say I went through it, but what the history says black people went through, it's oppression. And I don't believe that was That's why you will see people rise up as liberators, and even in the biblical narrative, you'll see like people like Moses, people like Joshua, people like Gideon rising up to break people out of oppression. So the truth, or if you want to say the truth of Christianity, I believe even if slavery didn't happen, it would have come into our hands.
It was not spiritual conviction.
Hey, he's laughing.
There's
He's
no
laughing.
way, 'cause it wasn't spiritual conviction that we brought Christianity. It was not spiritual conviction.
No, but
It
even
was
look,
by
let's
force and-
let's do it like
I
this.
need an answer on that though.
Pardon me?
Is it a good thing that if Africans were colonizing and slaves, we brought them slavery?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Like,
if it brought them Christianity, sorry.
no, like, I don't even know how to say this. Slavery is an injustice to the black race.
Right.
All right. To put something like, oh, at least we got Christianity out of it. It's like my mind doesn't even
But then if we
reconcile
if we
that.
weren't enslaved
Because-
and colonized like that,
but
we
I
wouldn't
don't-
have this form of Christianity.
No. But I believe if we were never enslaved, Christianity would have come to us because it was already in Africa. If Africa just said we shut down, no, whatever happened, no one comes in, it would have got, because it was already in Africa. It would have just spread.
You see, and this goes back, like I was saying earlier on about the ego. If you've got the truth, you don't need to spread it.
No.
You don't need to spread the truth. If you've got it, if I'm sitting here in the truth, whether you believe me or don't believe me, bro, it's insignificant to me. I've just got what I got that works for me. And this is one of the things that I found about the colonization and slavery when it comes to black people and spiritual systems in general. African people are not imperialists and not supremacists when it comes to their religious systems. Arabs and Europeans have always been supremacists and imperialists when it comes to not just their spiritual systems, but them in general, which is why they've tried to quote unquote conquer the rest of the world. These people have tried to colonize this place, colonize that place, and colonize that place. So they're going to bring their religion with them when they colonize this place and colonize that place. African people have never been colonizers like that. We've definitely had our own intertribal warfare going on in Africa, but it's never been because of, oh, you have this God and I have that God. It's been because of land. It's been because of all these other stuff. I fear that we have taken on the psychology of the same people that brought this to us, because if I tell you that I've got the keys to your salvation in my pocket, but I punch you in your face and then I rape your wife,
But
and then I slap your kids,
they weren't
are
saying
you really going to believe that I've got the keys to your salvation in my pocket?
They weren't even saying that. The Bible that, first of all, slaves weren't allowed to read. It was selective. So it's like once people actually got the Bible and started reading it, they actually discovered they've been lying to us. Because if we just give the Bible and you just read it, if I locked you up, you would.
Who's been lying to them?
The people who were controlling them. Because
why did they have it?
Why did they have it? Because
why did God allow the people that are liars and deceivers and colonizers and rapists and enslavers? Why did God say, I'm gonna give these people my book?
I don't think God said that. I think God was trying to redeem them, and I believe.
Did it work?
I can't answer that.
Well, can I jump in here? Maybe have you both reflect on, if I just give maybe a Christian's way of approaching some of this thing. Again, I don't claim to speak for all Christians, but if you're a Christian and you're a born again Christian, right? The idea is, I was first born of man, like my parents, as it were, and then I get baptized, I get born again, and now I am a child of God. I belong to Him, and He's my heavenly Father. And now it's no longer I that live. Part of being a Christian is giving up your life as sacrifice. It's not me that live, it's Christ that lives through me. I'm a vessel. That's the way, that's verbiage that many Christians may be familiar with.
Right.
So with all that said, they then may not choose to navigate the world primarily as their race, right? They would say, to your point, I'm a confluence of things. I'm a man. I'm a woman. Come again?
I'm a father.
Correct. There's all these different things. So would you say there's a problem with that? And actually, they actually need to see themselves primarily as black? Or if I say, you know what, I don't choose to navigate the world primarily as a black person, seeing everything through racial lenses, would you say something's wrong with how they're navigating the world? And actually,
I wouldn't tell people that it's wrong. right? I believe you can see yourself how you want to see yourself. My thing is, how practical is it that what you're doing? Like, is it practical? Because people say, you know, I can be a woman now, right? How practical is that for me? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it practical? I can be a tree. How practical is that? And so I'm not gonna tell people what they should or shouldn't do. I'm just gonna ask them, how's that working out for you? That's what I'm gonna be like. How's that working out for you? Is it practical for you? And so, yeah, I don't think people should primarily see themselves as a race, but I don't also think that you should negate that fact of the total reality that you live in.
What do you think, start to that?
Yeah, like literally, you can, especially in today's age, you can be and think what you want, but I do feel like, because I am a Pan-Africanist, I do feel like it is because of what we've been through and because of where we are in the world, in the economic stage of the world, like we have to. It is important for us to put our race first. Like I saw the other week, like a woman in Nigeria, she was bitten by a snake and she died because there was no
Anti-venom.
anti-venom in hospitals. Like, we have so much problems like within our nations and stuff. It's like, I feel like it is so important to put ourselves first in anything.
They
so
probably
far-
told her to pray.
Yeah, like there's so many churches, and mosques. Like I'm from Sierra Leone, and we get along with each other, the Christians and the Muslims. But it's like there's like a church and a mosque on every corner, and I just don't think it's helpful to prioritize your religious identity in terms instead of your identity, like your because that unification can go so long, but in terms of religion, religious unification, there's always going to be a clash.
So sorry, just for clarity, what do you think is lost when someone prioritizes their faith as their primary sort of religion? And by the way,
What do you think
like,
is lost?
yeah, what do you think is lost? And I was also going to say, obviously, we're not saying only prioritize. You obviously are multiple things. You can be a father and a son and an uncle at the same time. You don't have to pick one. But in this, but it seems to me you're saying if they focus on one or prioritize one, something's lost or something happens. What would you say that thing is?
No, I was saying that if you you should be prioritizing your blackness.
Yeah, I'm saying if they prioritize their faith,
yeah,
what's the problem with that?
I do believe that is as I said, the word I used before, cognitive dissonance. We are in a state of we are in a state of of remembering, because I feel like we have forgotten where we are. Putting your faith first does definitely take away that what's it called? I do believe that taking away, it would take away that your sense of identity. It takes away your sense of identity, because we're talking about how you are identifying yourself, and it would take away your sense of identity, because that is not how we should be identifying. Because if you meet a black person from East Africa or any black Muslim that's a Muslim, he's Arab, and he takes a lot of Arab culture, and it's the same with Christianity. You would take a lot of the culture and its practices, and you would embed it within yourself and into your culture. And I think that's where it does. It takes away from your culture.
I believe faith redeems your culture.
It redeems your culture.
I don't think everything in our culture as black people is inherently good for us.
Definitely not.
And good to the world. I think this is just personal to me. I think, you know, when I was in school and doing the study, they really used to use your words, done the propaganda of telling us what happened and we were slave and this and that. And reflecting on how that affected me as a young adult it's like it kind of put a cap on me, and it kind of put this white versus black narrative in my head. Now, coming to faith, there's a scripture that says, to renew your mind and focusing on changing your beliefs and focusing on kind of expanding your viewpoint to see things through the lens of Christ. I started to see, before I used to be like black people, white, and I'm starting like being in faith has made me more embrace other cultures. It's also one thing that our black community have to face head on is the belief that we are victims.
Right.
I think that's the more dangerous belief because of slavery and because of how much we focus on it, and it has impacted us for a deep, deep way. But I think for us to move forward, we have to move away from this victimhood and actually begin to take ownership and actually begin to say, who are we? And history does tell us who are we, but also faith tells us who we are. And so that's my viewpoint. I think, faith redeems culture. Faith redeems my race.
But how did we get there? How does faith redeem your culture? Like, because how did we get from, how did we get there? How does faith actually, say I have a culture that's gone on for 2,000 years, let's say, and now Christianity has now come into my community and my culture has changed. How does it, like, that's exactly what's happened. Like, so your culture changes.
Like in culture, all right, there's some things that are normal, all right. I'm trying to figure out an example.
And I hear what you're saying about the good things and bad things as well, because every culture has good things and bad things, but it doesn't mean throw away the whole culture and replace it.
That's why I say redeem it. So
redeem it, right.
Through the lens of Christ, there's a level of what people say holiness or separation that we live. So it gives me an ability of like, okay, what pleases God? Because when people say I prioritize my faith, they're just simply saying I want to please God. Now, sometimes when I was new in faith, I threw away everything. That's where you throw away this, that, everything's off. But when I became mature, I realized like, okay, I can't lose. God made me in this earthen black vessel, all right? God, like, I like hip hop, I like Afrobeats, I like certain traditions, but I just have to kind of like, does it please God? It's always above, okay, does it please my creator? And if it does, then it passes through. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. But then in a societal wise, we're speaking about as a culture, there's a lot of things that obviously not everyone is a Christian, but as when somebody becomes a Christian, that is their most priority. And that's just kind of what the faith prescribes.
You ask what they lose. The head of Judaism resides in the country called Israel. The head of Christianity resides in a place they call the Vatican.
The head of Orthodox official Christianity.
Right, Christianity. The head of Islam resides in Saudi Arabia. None of these places is anywhere near Africa. None of the people that are at the head of these social economic ladders are African. What it stops African people from doing is self-determination. No one in this, if we're going about it, looking at it from the way I look at it anyway, I'm not saying it's the right way, but if I start a business, I'm going to be the CEO. If you start a business, you're going to be the CEO. I don't go into someone else's business expecting to be the CEO because I didn't start it, run it, and maintain it. And so black people find themselves going into Jerusalem, going into the Vatican, going into Saudi Arabia, into other people's businesses, acting as if you're gonna excel that ladder. No, you're not. You're not even gonna be in the middle. Okay, black people, African people, like I said, being the founders of civilization, should not even, in my personal point of view, be looking in these people's businesses. That's their business. We are not going to excel in their business. You're not going to, and even when we get in there, when we do decide to, I want to be part of your party, we find ourselves at the bottom. We always find ourselves at the bottom of their party, and that's the reason, because it's theirs, it's not ours. And so the only way in which we determine ourselves and move forward is we have to create our own parties. We have to create our own stuff. We have to do stuff for ourselves. If we're constantly looking for other people, if you look at it from a race perspective, what do we lose? We're waiting for a white guy to come out of the sky to save us. We're waiting for a white Arab man in the desert to save us. In none of our history as black people have we as that ever happened. White people have never come to save black people like that. Arabs have never come to save black people like that. As a matter of fact, on the opposite, they've definitely come to enslave. They've definitely come to colonize. Now, I'm not saying to hate these people. I'm just saying to look at it objectively. Everyone's going to be out for themselves. The Chinese are now in Africa. Are they out there for African people? Or are they out there for Chinese people? Everyone's out there for themselves except for us. We keep thinking that we need to go, and if we just be nice to people, then they'll be nice to us. It doesn't necessarily work like that.
Yeah, but I think there's voices who are Christians, but also have the burden and also have the calling to empower Africa as a nation, because my understanding is that God cares about nations, and Africa being one of those nations because of just how much potential is in there. But I really think it has to be a calling. I just don't wake up and decide I'm going to be that voice. But if you're called to that, I believe there's many voices already being risen that are saying, look, like, we need to be more empowered. We can't just be prayer. No, like, let's think about.
That's the minority, though.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the minority in Christianity. The majority, especially in Africa, is pray and hope. But yeah.
The God of the Bible and Quran watched Africans go through hundreds and hundreds of years of slavery and colonization.
But the God of the Bible is not. He has a different level of patience than we do.
Oh, isn't that convenient? That's highly convenient, right? For us, we just got to wait. That's why I said the same people that brought this to you told you that they got the keys to your salvation in your pocket. I don't believe them. I'm not going to lie. I don't believe you. You've been punching me in my face, slapping me, raping my child, colonizing me. I don't believe you. That's just me as an individual. I don't believe you. Okay? Now, like I said, can I have quote unquote salvation in a thing that is quote unquote limitless?
What is salvation to you?
So, okay, so as a pantheist, if you want to go into my spiritual system, there is necessarily no salvation. It's just oneness. It's just the understanding of you are connected to everything and everything is connected to you. And so there is essentially no good, bad, up, down, dark, light. It's just this. It's just the universe. And you have to learn to navigate and find your space in it. You see, my thing, especially when it comes to Abrahamic religions, is they try to tell you that there's this good place and then there's this bad place, right? And the thing is, you already know as a human being where the good places and bad places are. That's why you know you don't go to that place. You know you don't go to that place because you already know where it is, because that's the only places we know of that are good and bad. The good and bad place exists in your head and in your heart. You already know where it is. Okay, you've been there. A lot of the time we've been there as human beings. We've felt it. We felt that dark place, right? So when people try to tell me that there's a place outside of that, I always say to them, where is that place? Where is it? Because if I think, I can sit here right now and think of bliss and I can feel it. But I can also sit here and I can also think of dark, heavy stuff and I could feel that too. So where is this place except for in your head and your heart?
This is a good kind of maybe segue into another theme I want us to tackle. I mean, you spoke about the God of the Bible, watching lots of wrongdoings happen and maybe sitting idly by, not being as proactive as you'd like him to be. I mean, some also think actually the church is the same in that one of the things that Christianity has done to some black people is kind of remove them from the protest lines, remove them from, from the picket lines because of this belief that, I'll just pray, to your point, about what's going on and things will be okay. So during the BLM struggles in America, but also in the UK, I remember reading quite a bit of some people feeling very disappointed about the black church, which is like, you guys are super spiritual, but when it comes time to getting out and actually combating issues to do with black people, you're like, all lives matter. Let's just pray for all lives, So, how do you guys navigate that? The fact that some of the most biggest civil rights liberators have been black and some of them have been Christian, but the modern church, I mean, some would say hasn't been as proactive when it comes to black struggles as much as they should be. I mean, how do you answer that? And you guys can maybe say if you agree or maybe disagree with some of that.
Yeah, this is my personal point of view. I think when it comes to injustice, especially to the black community, I think there is a politicalization of the church. That's where I feel, where we don't want to stand for, especially if the church is predominantly black. Sometimes we don't want to alienate. Sometimes we know, and so I think, I'm trying not to prophesy, but I believe what God is doing, he's waking up and he's saying, like, we have to be a voice, especially if we are the ones that are going to church and we are the ones that are tithing, we are the ones that are giving, and then people are being brutalized, people are being, there's police killings, and we just want to be political. I think that's not something that pleases or is based on the word. So I believe that the church needs to have a voice for the black community, and there needs to be more advocating, because who else can really advocate for us? I remember spending countless times in church. We spend all our time in church. And I also believe it's an ideology. I think our generation is not the generation that's just waiting for Jesus to return. I think the revelation or the understanding that we now have is like, no, our Christianity has to be practical. The God of the Bible who created the earth. And so before people would say, oh, the earth is bad, the culture is bad, my understanding is that God wants to redeem races, wants to fight for injustice, wants us as Christians to infiltrate. And if it doesn't have to be that we are always sharing the gospel, but it's like defending what is good, what is beautiful, what is of virtue. And I think that is more accurate to what the Bible or the gospel teaches us to do. So that's my viewpoint.
Well, I will agree with you with one point, that I do see a difference in generation. I feel like the older generation were less active in terms of trying to, and this is the older generation within the church. From what I've saw, they were definitely less proactive, but this younger generation is definitely a lot more proactive in, getting their message out and sort of helping their community and giving back to the community. I definitely feel like the younger generation, the up and coming Christians and stuff, they definitely do give back to their community more. So I'll definitely agree with you on that. Yeah, I'll definitely agree with you on that. Yeah.
Religion isn't supposed to liberate black people.
Religion is not supposed to liberate black people. No. Then who is?
We are.
We are the self-liberators.
We are the self-liberators. No one's coming to save us. If your house is on fire and there's a window there and you're waiting on a fireman to come and get you, that's your business. Okay, I'm jumping out the window. I don't know about you, but Pope Nicholas V of the Roman Catholic Church in 1455 wrote a decree or a papal bull to tell the Portuguese to go and enslave African people. It was the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church that done it in 1455. Before that, it was the Muslim Arabs, the Rashidun Caliphate, namely in 639 AD, who invaded North Africa and started enslaving and raping and castrating African people. Religion, Abrahamic religion specifically, even when you go to the ships who were owned during the transatlantic slave trade, a lot of them were owned by Jewish people. Religion is never meant to help the liberation of black people. Religion is there and has been there to help the subjugation and oppression of black people. In my personal point of view, like I said, we were doing stuff before these religions came about. If you go to the oldest calendar on the face of the earth, it's found in South Africa, stated at 75,000 years BC. They call it Adam's calendar. randomly. There were no Adams in South Africa 75,000 years ago, by the way. I don't know why they call it Adam's calendar, but they call it Adam's calendar, right? Black people were building monolithic structures 75,000 years ago. You go to the interior of Africa, you will find what is called the Ishango bone, dated at 25,000 years BC. It is the oldest known mathematical device. If you go to the east of Africa in 11,000 BC, you will find Nabda Playa, which is also a calendar by the Nubians. If you go to Benin in the 1800s, you will find the Benin Wall, right?
But do you think
None of these things, all of these things were done, without religion. Africans have never needed religion to forward the betterment of themselves. They never needed Abraham religion to do it. So it's not there for us to do it. We do it ourselves.
so? If God created man, right?
Allegedly.
All right. I know what I believe, but
Yeah,
for the sake of
yeah.
before I say okay, if God created man and God has created in His image, don't you think that image will replicate the miraculous or the remarkabilities of the Creator?
It's a big if though, is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not
So,
going to
if-
disagree with you, but it's an if.
It's an if, but I think it's a strong if, leaning towards there is a Creator. Right? Because you say like it's up to us. If
Yes.
if like let's remove Christianity and I said okay, it's up to black people, right? I personally don't have hope.
Hey.
And I'm not saying it based on
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's the crux of
listen,
the
let me just
conversation.
finish. Not just based on whatever, like just based on myself. Right? I know who I am. I know my frailties. I know what I struggle with. I know, and I'm like, if you just leave me to liberate myself, I used to be a New Ager, and in New Age, they put you as the God. Jesus was just a pathway. Buddha was a pathway, and it was all about transcending, liberating yourself, becoming the center. So I understand this idea of liberating ourselves. It comes in different flares, and it doesn't end well.
Who built societies? Human beings, right?
Who built society?
Yeah, societies. Just China, I don't know, India, or Egypt, Israel. Who built that?
Human beings.
Right, exactly. So you are your liberators.
No, I think we are wired to create culture. We're wired to create beauty. We're wired to create cities and villages. That's who we are, because everything, this is my belief, everything we see here that is good, beautiful, is a reflection of where we've come from. Inside of us, there is a remembrance, whether you know it or don't want to recognize it. There's a remembrance of where we came from. There's a scripture, not Bible bashing, but it's one of my favorite scriptures, right? Before you was in your mother womb, I knew you, right? So this puts this is why I think I put my faith before my blackness, because God knew a version of me, or the spirit essence of me, before I was put into a body. Now he chose to take this spirit essence of me and said, this essence will express itself perfectly through blackness. And I don't disagree with him, right? I don't disagree with him. Imagine a white version, I don't know, right? But the essence, the spirit essence is beyond. So the things you say, like we built, yes, because we were commissioned to. Genesis says, take dominion, have authority, multiply. These are, so whether you believe in God or not, you will still operate like this because it's in our DNAs to create.
But how do we get back there? Like as a people, like, because we are, in my opinion, we are not in a great place.
When you say we, who do you mean?
Us as black people, us as Africans, even Africans in the diaspora as well.
I want to let you finish, but I just want to put this out because I think it's been said a few times now. Africa's a big place.
It's huge. It's
54 countries.
Just to put that there. But so when we say Africans,
Let me narrow it down.
who exactly do you mean? And do you think it's actually even good to kind of speak about black people and Africans? Because white people, even that as a concept, I'm like, I mean, you travel to a few countries, you start realizing they're not all the same. They are very different customs. And Nigeria, as Nigerian, you know, I almost feel like, well, do I want to be lumped with all these other countries? I put some respect on our name. But anyways, go ahead.
I definitely hear what you're saying, and I should differentiate because no, we are not one one group of people. We're not one country. You know, I'm not an American saying Africa. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to Africa in the summer.
So yeah, we are not one people. So I would specify and say that how do I describe so West African and West I'd speak for myself, to be honest. I'll just speak for myself. West Africans, when the Europeans first came to West Africa and through West Africa, they described cities of like well-structured cities where they had intricate systems of architecture, hospital systems, sewage systems. They had all of this. This was way back when explorers were they were going to West Africa just to trade, and what they wrote down at the time was that, you know, these lot are very much civilized. They're goods, basically. Like they have a good way of living, and their spiritual systems. They have a chiefdom. They have their priests. They have their elders that you know, have so much respect and authority within their community. They're well governed. So my thing was just, in West Africa, how do we get back to that? Just speaking on West Africa, how do we get back to that?
I think we have to,
because that was before colonization. That's what I'm saying.
There's people who strive for power, and that's part of the broken part of human nature, that they will always try to oppress, always try to take advantage. Africa as a whole has been taken advantage of. And so I think what you were alluding to about that self-liberation, and forgive me if I exaggerated your point, but I see what you're trying to say. Like, we need to take ownership. We need to start thinking for ourselves, building systems, and going back to some of that essence of like, what you said about the cities. And because we weren't what they said. We weren't slaves. We weren't like cannibals and stuff like that. We had civilization. And I believe also that there's not one way to civilization. Just because a Western way is like, don't do this, like, for example, gentle parenting. I see truth in that, but I also see the other side of that, where I was like, you know, if my dad didn't sit in that,
on his hip.
if he did it, it's still sort of like, there's some things like I wouldn't get, like, by you sitting down and talking to me. I had to kind of like feel it. And I don't know if that's blackness or whatever. I don't know, because I haven't done the what do you call it, research or whatever. But I think, coming back to my Christian perspective, I believe that God didn't give a monopoly on what humanity should look like to just one race.
Right.
I agree. I think we all have pieces that we can learn from each other.